We are back yet again for another Donkey Kong boss ranking, but this week we are talking about Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. We are ranking every single boss in the game from worst to best. There's only 6 bosses in this game, but they're pretty dynamic overall, so there will be a lot to say about each one. A couple of weeks ago I made a video on ranking every single Donkey Kong Country Returns boss, and if you want to see me rank every Donkey Kong Country boss in the entire series, make sure you leave a like and subscribe and turn on post notifications because that is going to be a fun video coming up soon. About 87 of you subscribed the other day. Let's see if we can get over 100 brand new subscribers on today's video. Thank you so much, and let's jump into every single boss ranked from worst to best in Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. Coming in at number 6, and the worst boss in the game in my opinion, we have Fugu. He's a pufferfish and the only underwater boss in the entire Donkey Kong Country series, which is pretty interesting. But it's just not as interesting as the others, because at the end of the day, it's underwater. He will constantly breathe in water to try to suck you in, and blow it out to try to push you into the sea snails surrounding the area, which if you touch them, you lose a life. There's only 2 real ways, or shall I say 2 legitimate ways to attack Fugu, because you could use Cranky Kong and smack him in the butt with his cane, but that's cheating, we're gonna be honest. One way is just slam into his butt when he spins around, and the other way is to slam a little fish into him, and if you do that, he'll be open for any type of attack on the way back around. At the very end, it's just a long wait for him to expose his weak point as he'll turn gigantic and you just have to slowly swim around him over and over and over and over and over again until eventually he decreases in size, allowing you to hit his weak point again. It's not an inherently terrible boss, it's just not as fun when you're slowly just swimming through the water waiting for your chance to take a strike at him. It's honestly just kind of boring overall. Number 5, we have Baboom. Now this one was painful for me because this was probably my favorite world in the entire game. I absolutely adore World 3 and its Savannah themed levels, but the final boss of this area was so lackluster to me. It's 3 baboons, and it plays like 3 baboons probably should play. They all spend time pretty much just messing with Donkey Kong. Some will come down on ropes with hammers, you have to completely dodge them, and others will come down without hammers. Those are the ones that you want to either roll over or jump on their heads. Now their moves do change. As you start killing them off one at a time, eventually they'll start throwing things at you, like watermelon and spiked bomb fruit. You have to pick up the watermelons and throw them back at them in order to damage them. And this is pretty unique overall, and once again, I definitely would not consider this a bad boss in any way. It's just nothing spectacular, I guess you could say. It's just all kind of going through the motions. I mean, they only have one real attack at the very end that makes you have to think real quick, where they chuck out a frenzy of bombs that you have to dodge in the middle, and keep watching out for them swinging in the middle as well. So there's a lot of things to look out there, but like I said, it's only one attack that happens, and once you see it the first time, you'll probably be good the second time to dodge it. Like I said, I feel like the best way to describe this boss is just safe. It's a safe boss. It doesn't try to do anything super crazy or spectacular or add any type of new mechanic that we're not used to, which I guess is a good thing, but still, I wanted a little bit more from this world. It definitely deserved it. Pompey is a seal boss from the very start of the game. This is a World 1 boss that definitely didn't disappoint. It may not be the hardest thing ever, but man, it was a blast to actually fight this guy. The music is one of the best themes in the entire game as well, and it's just a complete different theming for Donkey Kong. A hard rock and roll soundtrack that plays as you're fighting this seal in the broken down circus tent, which is actually just parachutes of a fallen plane. The atmosphere, the aesthetic, it's absolutely there. It's just a very, very easy boss. And I guess the best way to describe this boss is just satisfying. Every hit that you land on him just feels satisfying, even though it's an easy hit. For the most part, he'll just try to dive on top of you, or he'll roll on top of you, and it's your job to either jump over him and dodge him when he's spinning, or jump on his back when he's flat on his stomach. The way Pompey just moves and flips and twirls through the air and slides on the stage is just so smooth and beautiful to watch. You know what I mean? It's just one of those boss battles that you appreciate. He reminds me a lot of the seal from Madagascar 3, but this time a lot more rigid and rough. I thought Pompey was a great boss battle to start this game. At number 3, we have Lord Frederick, the final boss of the game. This is upsetting that the final boss doesn't even make the top 2, because this game has such good boss design for the most part, an amazing level design, and an awesome conclusion with the best final world I think I've played in a long time. How did we get here? Well, what makes Lord Frederick so bad and how is he so high then? Well, Lord Frederick isn't a bad boss. I actually think he's probably one of the most complicated and most difficult to actually defeat in this entire game, especially on time trials or even hard mode. Your job is to throw a little minion at him in the background which he'll try to dodge. You'll have to have a perfect toss which will bring him into the foreground with you. You'll have 3 opportunities to jump on his back as he rushes you, and each time he'll get a little faster. But as you get towards the end of his second phase and early third phase, he'll start doing some crazy attacks, like shooting ice dragons down from the sky in order to make all the platforms slippery. And one attack that I believe to be one of the craziest ones ever, he'll lift the platforms, and the thing is, you'll have to get to the very end of the right one to jump all the way to the very end of the left one that resurfaces from the lava. It's crazy if you don't have any buddies with you, because you have to make an incredible roll jump to the other side. That's not a casual thing to do for most players. He also has a cool attack where he'll shoot the ice dragons at you in a horizontal way where you'll have to fly over one and duck under the other. It's actually pretty neat, and I wish they just did more with these ice dragons. Like for instance, the giant one that ended up freezing over the entire island. Like, where did that go? And it's crazy that there's this giant Viking ship at the top that we don't even get to battle on. They could have had a really cool final climactic battle on that ship as it was snowing, and it could have been very similar to the K. Rool battle of the original Donkey Kong Country. But no, we're fighting this walrus at the bottom of a volcano. Like, why? Why? Nah, actually, this one made me so mad, we doing it again. Run it back. Coming in at number 2, which is probably a lot of people's favorite, Bassmaster. He is this awesome polar bear with this giant sledgehammer, and he is literally peak design for this game. I love the music, I love the battle arena being this punch bowl. You get it because there's juice. But overall, his concept is simple. You wait for an opening with his hammer where you jump off of it and then jump on his head, or you simply just jump on his head after he spins around on the ice, or you throw a watermelon bomb at him after freeing it from the ice. To me, this boss fight is more of an atmosphere and even boss design thing, and I kind of wish he was the main leader of the Snowmads instead of Lord Frederick, because what the heck is a Lord Frederick? One of my favorite parts is when he stacks the ice blocks and you have to climb to the very top one in order to fly above his head, and then eventually jump on his head after he spins out and gets dizzy. It's a really cool design, and it's something that's more unique in the game. I also love the more that you keep knocking him into the juice, his fur actually changes to a dark purple each time, which is really cool. If you look even closely, you can see a gradient of color as it goes from light purple to dark purple down from his shoulders, which is such a great attention to detail as it's slowly soaking his fur. I mean, it's just so good. I just wish he was a little bit more difficult and he actually used his hammer more, because for one of his final attacks, he just starts launching these ice cubes at you, turning them into like ice bullets, which is so cool. And I just wish there was more of this, because I feel like this hammer in his hand was hardly used. He should have used it for a lot more brutal attacks. And coming in at number 1 as my favorite boss in Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, I picked Scowl. Scowl is literally perfect in my opinion. He has the difficulty, he has the variety of attacks, his character design is phenomenal, not to mention 3 separate arenas based on each phase that he transfers to. I mean, this boss battle has it all. Your main task is to pick up his little egg minions and toss them back at him when he's flying toward you or flying on the edge of the stage. And he has a lot of different attacks. I mean, probably the most variety of all the bosses in the game. He can chuck giant spike balls at you, throw minions at you, chuck feathers at you from the sky, or even fly directly into you. And that's just literally phase 1. Each new phase you'll launch vertically into the sky to go higher up a tree, which is such a cool concept. And the sky is just beautiful in the background with these purples and blues mixing together to make like this really cool sunset at night type of northern lights look, and I love it. The second phase, he uses more wind attacks, including an awesome attack where he has 2 barrels on either side of the stage, and you'll actually need to use these barrels in order to dodge certain attacks, because unless you have Diddy or Dixie, you're going to take damage from the falling feathers unless you use these barrels. It's such a clever way of dodging an attack. I love this. I really love the attack where he'll send out a stairway of enemies for you to jump off of just to bounce an enemy off his forehead at the very top. It's just too good. For the third final part of the arena, you'll be shot up at the top of the tree through the clouds where you get to see the beautiful background in all of its glory. I mean, come on, look at this stage. And once again, he'll change up his attacks once more, sending his troops in from the background flying into the foreground, which is kind of a 3D aspect to it that I actually also really love. including another new attack where he'll launch giant egg bombs from the top of the screen, which is just so good. I mean, it really doesn't end. Every time I replay this boss battle, I always end up with a huge smile on my face, from the amazing scenery to the awesome battle music and just the great boss fight with some good difficulty as well. This is without a doubt my favorite boss battle from Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze and one of my favorites in the entire franchise. And that is every single boss battle ranked in Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze from worst to best. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today, and let me know in the comments down below what was your favorite boss in this game and what was your least favorite. And if you're really excited for the upcoming giant Donkey Kong Country boss battle ranking from the entire series, you're going to want to stay here on Nintendo Land. So make sure you leave a like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications to stay updated when I post. Thank you so much for tuning in, and like always, I'll see you all on the next one. See ya, guys.